Hi everybody, I hope you're having a great week so far. Continuing this week with the Optimize Your 2018 series on home goals. Now, home goals covers a lot of different things that might be really important to you. So if you have not yet set all your goals for 2018, that's okay. In fact, that's actually better. It's not good to set all of your resolutions or goals, even better, at the very start of the year. You should set them after you've taken some time to really meditate on what's important, to understand your why, and to set goals that are going to be taken in baby steps. Taking them all in at once is a recipe for failure. Nobody can do everything all at once. But all of your goals, as we've said earlier in this series, should be related to your overall why. Your overall purpose should connect with each one of the goals in the areas of your life respectively. And oftentimes, home is the one that we tend to leave out anyway, even though it is the first place that we should be thinking about our why and setting goals. It tends to be the last place where we consider them. So things like organization and home maintenance can often get swept under the rug, or we set those goals without setting the smart, the smart kinds of goals that we talked about with the other areas of our life. They need to be specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time specific, just like any other goals would be. So with your home goals, that would include things like organization and home maintenance, or parenting goals, or budgeting, or things that relate to the life at home. So how do you set those kinds of goals? What would be some examples of how you would set a SMART goal? How you would set a goal that's purpose related to your why. You need to make sure that you're setting up accountability, and that you're measuring it, and that you're celebrating your successes along the way and breaking it down into specifics. So one that people do tend to set as a resolution, and it doesn't quite make it, is one on organization and home maintenance. Organization, like anything else, needs to be taken in small bites, because as we know, small bites make better digestion for anything. So that has to do with your goals as well. So if you're going to organize your whole house, that's really overwhelming. Who's going to really do that? But if you organize your house one area at a time, one area of each room at a time, and you have ways of doing it that you can sustain, that are realistic, you're more likely to stick with it as a long-term goal that will outlast 2018 and make your life better. So one way to deal with home maintenance and organization is to set your priorities. What are the most important things to prioritize when it comes to your organization? What are the areas that you experience first when you come in your house? What are the places where you tend to leave your clutter, in other words? And those are the things that if you get those tackled first, then you can do the smaller, the further out pieces of your house, the places you don't encounter as often, that aren't going to make as much a difference in your quality of life anyway. You can do those later. Do the things that are going to matter to you and make a better lifestyle for you at home. Create more peace. So if your goal and your purpose in life is to be a peaceful person with other people, that can relate to your organization of your home. So you can make that a more important why. You can be more at peace if your home environment is more peaceful, and if it's not as cluttered, then great. But don't be legalistic about it either. So one way that you can deal with clutter is to take the clutter and break it down into smaller, less visible places to put your clutter. I know that sounds like a cheat. It kind of is, but it isn't really. So my way of doing clutter is to put it in baskets and bins. So the clutter is actually sort of organized clutter, but it's sustainable. So when my kids were at home and going to school, we had a bin that was for each kid's school stuff. And I knew where to find their school stuff, but it isn't in a pile on top of a counter where it looks like clutter and it's a mess, and it creates this visual sense of mess in your personal space that is not peaceful. But if it's in a beautiful basket, it isn't really as cluttered looking. It's the same as putting it in a file. It's just a three-dimensional file. So it's all about how you look at it, right? And it isn't messy because it's put away. And you can easily put those things away without having to go through a file. So that's sustainable and it's pretty. So get yourself a system of bins or baskets and set them up as decorative elements in your environment. It's an easy way to tackle organization. Your closets should be the same way. Make it so that you can put things quickly where they go. If it's too hard to put things where they go, you won't stick with it. Create things that you will stick with. So your first thing to tackle is the junk drawer, the space where you put all your clutter, and make sure instead of having that space to put all your clutter, in a couple of instances, I've actually taken away the table where all the clutter goes, and the table's not there anymore, so the clutter doesn't go on the table. It goes in a bin. And every day, I will take whatever clutter appears and put it where it goes. If you do it all the time and it becomes habit, after about 40 days, they say that's when you create a habit, then you will no longer be tempted to just leave that clutter there for more than one day. If you leave it there for more than one day, it becomes unmanageable. So always put everything away every day. And then it won't be overwhelming because you'll only be putting a little bit of stuff away. Every time you get out of the car, if your car space is part of your home life that's unmanageable, everything that goes in the car that shouldn't stay in the car, like junk and trash and things like that, should come out of the car. So trash comes out of the car every time you get out of the car. And then it's not a lot of trash, and you don't have to take a day to clean out your whole car. It's just a little bit each time. And that's a lot easier to do. Household maintenance, one little thing at a time. So this month we're doing this household maintenance. We're saving for this one thing. We know that this is the first thing on the list. We're not going to worry about the rest of the list until we've saved for this thing. And then once we get that done, then we'll move on to the next thing. So save for the household maintenance projects. Save for budgeting projects. Budgeting is another thing that people like to do. One piece at a time. If you're looking at your overall budget and you have a goal and it relates to your overall why of having freedom and having peace, then those little one thing at a time pieces of that budgeting process are going to be a little bit easier. Tackle one credit card. Tackle one area of your spending that's gotten out of control. One thing. Just one thing at a time, and then you'll move on to the next thing. You can have a long-term goal, but just don't try to swallow that big meal all at once. Do a little piece at a time and it'll get better. Parenting is the same way. Your kids' behavior cannot change all at once overnight. You should have 3 things that you might be working on at the most, and chart those. Depending on the age of your child, you could use stickers for younger children, or you could use a different way of charting with your older kids and have rewards for them for when they fulfill what they're supposed to do. Rewards are much better shapers of behavior than negative consequences. So if you can have rewards for yourself, if you can have rewards for your children, those rewards will take shape. So give your children, if it's your children, choices to own what they're doing. That is always much more effective at shaping behavior. This is what happens when you have a good choice. This is what happens when you don't have a good choice. I hope you choose well because I love you. And then when they get to where they've made bad choices, oh, I'm sorry that you made a bad choice. I love you so much, I can't wait for you to make a better choice. Well, we're going to have to do the consequence for the bad choice, or we're going to have to put off the reward that you would have gotten if you had the good choice. I hope you get that reward next time. I really believe you can do that. So keeping positive relationships with your kids and not getting upset and taking all the emotional burden of their behavior allows them to take the burden of their behavior. It's not as easy as it sounds, I realize that, but it's much more effective. So if you can train yourself to allow them to take all the emotional responsibility, and you can remain calm, and you can parent them with love and with shaping choices and allowing them to own their choices, they'll grow as more effective and wiser citizens as they grow into their own adult ability to make choices. It shapes them better for their future if you set it up as a set of choices rather than I'm delivering the punishment because I've chosen to punish you. You've chosen. This is your choice. We had the rule. You knew ahead of time that this was what was happening if this was the rule. I'm sorry you chose well, but you have an opportunity to do better next time. And I just know you're going to do it. So expect them to do well. Tell them that you believe in them. That's a much better shaper of behavior. So with organizing, with household maintenance, even keeping your house clean, you can set SMART goals: specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, that's important, and time specific. So within a certain time, your kids need to demonstrate this behavior to get this reward. Within a certain time, you need to show that you have decluttered this space. So your goal would be to remove the constant appearance of growing clutter in the kitchen, on the counter, by the end of this month. So you're going to organize the kitchen counter by the end of the month, by the end of January. And then you'll move on to organizing the junk drawer in February. Just have one little piece at a time until you have the whole kitchen done. And then you can go on to the living room. You'll organize where the junk and the clutter goes in the living room. And you'll set a goal for, say, if you're looking at house cleaning. If you have kids, they should definitely be taking part in cleaning the house. If they don't, they are not going to learn how to do it as adults. You cannot be there in their house forever as their mom doing their laundry. So by the time they're in middle school and high school, they should be responsible for their clean clothes. If not, they're not going to learn that skill. So your job once they're teenagers is to teach them how to live as adults, not to do everything for them, even if it means they're not doing it your way. They still need to learn how to do it, or they won't learn those skills that they need for independent living. So they should be learning how to budget. They should be learning those things. And you can model budgeting, but you need to help them learn how to do it on their own as well. So giving them like maybe chores that they get paid per chore to do, that's helpful. And you can say, okay, I love you, and I want you to learn how to work for a boss. So when you work for a boss, they expect you to have this done by a specific time. So this needs to be done by Friday at 4 o'clock. So be really specific with the time that they need to get things done. Being able to budget with them. You can earn this amount of money between birthdays or Christmas. If you want that, I think that's a good goal. So save for that. How long do you think it'll take you to save for that? Teach your kids to have specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-specific goals. And then they will learn to have good goal setting too. So having your home set up as a place that's organized and peaceful takes time. And you can do it a little bit at a time. So I hope that's helpful for you today. What are your goals for your home right now? If you have extra ones that we haven't touched on today, I'd love to hear from you in the comments, and I can add those to the blog at divineencouragement.com. Feel free to leave a comment, because I will be doing a drawing at the end of this series for a $10 Amazon gift card. So I hope that you win, and I hope to see you again next time. You have a great and blessed week. Bye-bye.